In sicer imamo na vrsti torej našo gostujočo predavateljico, Annelien Kozemans iz KU Leuven. Ona bo seveda predavala v angleščini, predavanje z naslovom Handling the Corona Crisis and Online Assessment in KU Leuven. Upam, da je že z nami. So, Annelien, are you already with us?
I'm here. Yes,
oh,
I'm here,
right,
Marco.
great,
Yeah.
great. It's very, very nice to see you. It's not live, but we will make it happen hopefully soon. So how are you, Annelien? Everything okay? Ready
Everything
for your
okay.
presentation? Do you have your PowerPoint slides prepared?
Yes, I have it. Shall I share my screen?
Yes, please do so.
Yes,
Just
I will.
share screen and select the PowerPoint, your presentation. I hope it will work. Yeah, okay, now you have started. Yeah, we see your presentation.
Yes, okay. Then
Great,
I go to the presentation mode.
So I'm going to leave the floor to you. I will follow if there will be any questions or remarks or whatever in the chat. I will translate it to you, and after you finish, I will ask you these questions if there will be any, so that you can answer to us. English language is not a problem, so you can really, the floor is yours, please.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
So, good morning to you all. I'm, as Marco introduced me, I'm Annelien Kozemans. I work for the University of Leuven, and more specifically in the Educational Development Unit. And we have a team of educational advisors, technologists, also providing service to all professors and lecturers within the university. I'm going to see, yeah, like this. So just to give you a quick overview of KU Leuven as a university, here are some facts and figures, just so that you can compare it with your own university. I think we are a bit larger in size. As I read yesterday, the University of Ljubljana counts more or less 40,000 students, I think. So we are a bit in the same size, a bit larger, I think, and you also see that we have quite some international students. It's I think also, like the University of Ljubljana, a comprehensive university. So we have 16 faculties, and we have bachelor, master degrees, and advanced masters. And geographically Leuven, but I cannot say KU Leuven is a university only in Leuven, as you see marked on this land map of Belgium. We have now, since 10-15 years, also campuses throughout the Flanders region of Belgium. So we are a real, we call it a multi-campus university spread out over the Flanders region. And here you have some indications on where we are situated in Europe, if you did not know it yet. This is the multi-campus aspect of our university. And it's, the support of, and that is my perspective in the university, of course, the support of professors and of lecturers is, of course, in this context, quite complex. So we work with a network of people, educational developers, technologists, IT people, throughout the university on these different locations. I myself, I work in Leuven. And I just picked out this slide from our corporate presentation, on the one hand to show you that we are an international university, but also to show you that we are already collaborating with you, with this university, within, for example, the CELSA network. But the reason why Marco invited me was to talk to you about how we handled the Corona crisis within KU Leuven, and more specifically because I understood that was the topic of today, the online assessment part. Before I start, I just want to point out some strategic priorities. So we have, with the election of a rector, and that was in 2017, always a new strategic plan with new strategic priorities. And as you see here, education, even if we are a research-intensive university, education is very important for our university. And you can see that because these are the 5 priorities, and 2 of them are exclusively dedicated to education: the future-oriented education strategic priority and the going digital strategic priority. From 2017, these 2 strategic priorities go hand in hand. So we do technological, we invest in technological progress, advancement, new infrastructure, always with the vision on to what type of future-oriented education are we working to. So it's yeah, and also in the other strategic priorities such as sustainability or truly international, we also try to translate that to a vision on education and what kind of technology we need to fulfill that vision or support that vision, I think. Yeah, I think we all know that in March 2020 in Belgium, in fact, it started mid-March, I think the 15th of March, more or less, that we, a digital storm hit our auditorium. And I just want to tell you a bit more about how we handled that situation. Probably there are a lot of comparisons with how you handled it within your university. I try to talk about it like it felt a bit as if we transformed from one university into another in a very short period of time. If we look at the first phase, that is the first university we were before March 2020, then the pre-corona university. Then we were mainly a university that had the on-campus education, the synchronous, on the same time, in the same place education on the campus. And what we did online was largely asynchronous. So it was some online content was offered to the students between the moments on the campus. And our focus was then on, we have a learning management system and we use Blackboard, but we transformed it into Toledo because we have an in-house development team developing extra applications for Blackboard. So we have Toledo, and we had also, like you see on the screenshot in the middle, an exam portal, so to organize digital exams. But as you can see, it was for digital exams on campus, so we were not prepared for the Corona crisis on the level of online assessment. I think our main efforts still now on this moment is on that point, on that topic. How can we organize on a structural level? How can we offer the infrastructure to professors and lecturers for online assessment? And what we had was before March already quite some learning spaces that were technology supported, but focused on that on-campus education, not on online education. And so from March to what happened in March 2020 is that we had to go from that hybrid university to a digital first or digital only university. And we did everything online. Our education went completely online from March onwards. And there we saw lecturers and professors in a high tempo producing recordings, clips, video lessons. We had we invested a lot of time, our ICT department, in setting up a live streaming service. We already had web lecture facilities in a lot of lecture halls, so they were, of course, hugely used. And we had here and there some lecture halls, learning spaces for distance education, that became, of course, very important on that moment. But it was really a focus on that digital first. So yeah, we tried to save what could be saved. We try to prepare and service our students as good as we can. And also our IT department, but also we as educational developers, as educational technologists, focused a lot on the technology side of education, of online education. And I think we are now approaching a new phase, and that is what I have called here the multimodal phase, because I think what we all know is that we have to integrate on-campus and online education. And there you have the pedagogical didactical model of blended learning. But that means that you really have to join the best of both worlds. And I think that is something that we see now. So we are leaving the digital first or digital only phase, and we are now entering that multimodal phase where you see that we are preparing ourselves for next academic year to really try to think, okay, how do we want this technology to be integrated in our education to have good quality education. I also added 3 misunderstandings about technology because I think it tells a bit how we look, what kind of vision we have on technology-supported education in KU Leuven. But I suppose there are a lot of similarities with how you look at this. This is yeah, I think something that was said or that is still said quite often, digital is the new normal, digital learning is better learning. And it really doesn't put the emphasis, I think, on the right part. So we are talking about technology-supported education with emphasis on education. Technology is a very powerful tool. They are very powerful instruments, but they are not an end in itself. And you also read that in that quote, the learning experience really depends on the pedagogy and not on the technology. So if you are able to use the technology in the right way to really support the pedagogy you have in mind, then you really are able to facilitate a better learning experience for the student. Then another thing that we also often hear, that technology-supported education will mean that we have to stop lecturing. So that at the university, this means the end of the lecture hall. But I think we have at KU Leuven, at the University of Leuven, a bit more a nuanced view on that, because we see that, of course, the use of technology in a blended learning model influences your education, your on-campus education. So, of course, you will have to have other things next to lectures. I think we already have that. We have laboratory sessions. We have very practically oriented sessions also already. But on the other hand, to say that the online part will only be the asynchronous transferring of digital content to the student, I think we will also, the challenge is also to integrate there also a lot of interactivity. There are a lot of possibilities with groups of students to really integrate interaction in online in the online part too. So it will be a more complementary view. What do you do on campus? What do you do online? And you will have diverse approaches on both sides. I think that is also a bit a complementary comment on what I previously said, that integration will be really the key. And then, of course, you also hear, you also have that view on technology that will take over. But if you then look at the very important role that lecturers will have to do play in education on the content level, they are responsible for knowledge construction and higher cognitive skills. Or to learn students higher cognitive skills, but also the pedagogy, who designs the powerful learning environments with an emphasis on active learning, because we have a lot of research really indicating that active learning is the thing we have to emphasize in our pedagogy. And of course, if we talk about technology, then we really talk about thoughtful integration of technology. So I think this is the third misunderstanding that we do not really agree with in our university. And then maybe to switch to online assessments, what did we do during this period, during this turbulent phase of going from one university to another, completely online university, and the transition now to a more blended learning university? As I said, for the online parts, we were quite well prepared with regard to education courses and so on. With regard to online assessment, it was quite a challenge. And I just want to quickly go through with you what we set up from March onwards, because we already had our first exam period in June 2020. So we had to come up with solutions. And in between March and now, you can say we have had different exam periods. And there we had to take a pragmatic stand on things. We had to approach this pragmatically. So what we did was we have an exam portal for digital exams, and we set up a typology for online exams. So that was really new at the university. We tried to define different types of online exams to be organized in those exam periods. And you can see there the scheme we made up in March 2020 to prepare for the exam periods. And so we offered lecturers a typology of exams: oral exam, written exam. Do you want to do it open book? Do you want to do it closed book? And what you find behind this scheme is, for each type of exam, we offered a workflow where lecturers were offered pedagogical, didactical, technological, and organizational advice, really integrated in one workflow. And we have approached it in this way to make the challenge a bit acceptable for us as a university. And so you also see at the left hand side that we also continued to organize. We had that possibility in Belgium, on-campus exams with all the safety regulations. But for those exams where it was really not possible to organize it on campus, if you think about international students who had to go back to their home country and who couldn't come back in June to take an exam, we organized exams. So I think 15% of our exams were online, and we supported it in this way with the technology we had. Of course, another important lever is the infrastructure. So I already said, from 2017 onwards, we have that going digital strategic priority. There, we already made an online assessment roadmap for the following years, from 2017 onwards. And what we are now investigating is, so we have our exam portal in Toledo, our learning management system, where you can make all kinds of digital exams with all types of questions: open, closed, multiple choice. But what we are now investigating is, do we need something more to make it...
Vsi neki pametni in da vsi neki delajo vse po svoje. Mi rabimo službo, ki bo, ne za to izpitno obdobje, tu je že šlo mimo, za poletno izpitno obdobje pripravila sistem.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, now we hear you back. There was one of the participants that had his microphone on. I apologize, please.
No problem, no problem. I just was pointing out then how we are now investigating how, with the experience we have from the past exam periods, in which kind of extra infrastructure we would like to invest. We are investigating proctoring software for those exams where you really need it, but we think we only need it for a limited type of exams, because I know you already talked about GDPR today, or it is scheduled, I think, in one of the presentations. I think there, if we want to use proctoring software in online exams, there you have the privacy of the student. That is very important to take into account. What we also did, of course, it was for us necessary to experiment with bring your own device, because we had with the 15% of online exams, a lot of students in their home or in their home country or within Belgium in their house. And so there we already had that idea before. We would like to see what the possibility is with online exams, how we can organize assessment centers on campus. But as you know, we are a multi-campus university, so we are thinking about a network of assessment centers throughout the Flanders region, but you could also think about assessment centers at a distance, where you work with in a network of universities from where the international students come, and that you organize an assessment center. I think it is for some exams better to do it in a more safe environment than to work with proctoring software. So this is really about all the, so what we are of course investigating is, we have already an exam portal where you can do a lot of things, but how do we organize the context of those exams? But another thing that is that we are now working on is a tender to buy a new test platform. So what we are looking for is really something in which you can do formative and summative assessment. So where you can make tests for your students throughout the course, which are not necessarily graded, but where you can give them opportunities to learn, to exercise. And also to make summative exams in. What we are looking for is a very flexible platform in which you can really work with pools of questions, where you can make randomized exams, so that you can give students different exams, where you can see as a lecturer what the quality of your exam is, how you can further analyze the way the tests and the exams are made by the students. So I think we would like to go to the next level of online exams, and that is a bit what we are doing now, and we try to accompany that roadmap of technological advancement with we call it KU Leuven Learning Lab. That I told you about the network of educational developers throughout the university. We try to work closely together to provide professors, lecturers as much support as they need to use that technology. And so we have a tool guide, we have all kinds of didactic formats. We have a blended learning quick guide where you can, as a lecturer, take 2 or 3 hours to really rethink your course and also your assessment in that course. So you see it at the left side, step by step to a blended course design. But we also have a lot of advice, tips, support to think about feedback to your students and assessment to your students. And I think those are the three levers. If we, so we are now in the process of buying the new platform. Also, that new platform will be accompanied by a lot of sessions, inspirational sessions, support sessions to help lecturers and professors to make quality, to set up quality assessments. I think that was a bit what I had in mind.
Very, very nice. Very nice. Thank you, Annelien. Very nice. I think you gave us quite the right overview what we basically were thinking of. And of course, congratulations on everything you did. As usually, you address things systematically. That's quite appropriate. And I think that some of your experience will be of use to our university as well. And as already discussed previously, we need to get this cooperation among both universities more close, especially in things like this that are really key issues now in this time.
I focused more on an institutional view. As you asked me, I saw that the rest of the program is more on how do you organize or good practices. Of course, we also have a lot of experience on that side. So if I can help you later on, maybe also with other colleagues.
Exactly.
You just have
to say. So thank you very much for now. There are no specific questions for you, I have to see. if I was looking, but
No,
exactly.
no problem.
So there is one. There is one. I apologize. The colleague Gaber Begesh asking, how do you handle practical exercises during COVID-19 crisis?
Yes. Um, so I think that was quite a challenge. So what we do now is we have codes. We work with color codes, and in those different color codes, different things are possible. So we are now in in the red color code where lectures are not possible, but we make exceptions for small groups for practical exercises. So we try to keep the campuses as safe as possible, and we were before the Christmas holiday days for some weeks in black, color code black. That was really for 3 weeks more or less, nothing was possible. So we postponed some of those practical sessions, but those sessions we continue to do this on campus because it's not possible to do it at a distance. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
There is one thing, also one more question. The answer is thank you for the participant. So Mitya Dechman is asking, how do you handle exams with 200 students in one course? So massive testing. Do you have this online, or are you trying to do it on campus? How do you do that?
Yeah, so we do both, in fact. So as I said, 85% of the exams was on campus. So with all the safety regulations, so we have really organized the large lecture halls. We transformed them into exam rooms, but we had to rent some more big halls to organize our exams. So the cost was quite large for the university, but and then for the online exams, so I told you about the exam portal, and what you can find in the workflows are fraud limiting measures. So we have a combination of different fraud limiting measures that we apply to those large exams, and in that way we try to organize them as safe and as possible, and as valid as possible, as honest as possible. And I think the technology roadmap I showed you shows also that we see that we have to take some steps forward on that level. So we as I said, we approached it from a very pragmatic point of view, and we try to organize it as good as possible. And I think we are glad that it worked out. For the past 3 exam periods, we did not run into massive fraud, for example, of students. So I think we had a system that was quite good with digital exams, combined with some fraud limiting measures. But the fact that we are investigating now where we could add some proctoring software, where we could work with assessment centers, where we could work with a new exam or test platform, shows that we are still looking for solutions for these kinds of exams. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.